Hello, dear students. I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to a new lecture. In this lecture, we're starting in a writing workshop. As I said before, this week we have lecture number 5. I already uploaded the first part, which is part A. It's a grammar workshop, and this is part B, a writing workshop, and this is Miss Maha Mohsen. Here is the table of contents for this lecture. The first part will be looking at the parts of an essay, the introduction, body, and the conclusion. Second, we'll be talking about the types of essays. Mainly, we'll be focusing on the expository writing. Different types of expository writing would be problem solution, compare contrast, cause effect, and advantages and disadvantages. The third part would be an essay model, and at the end we'll be looking at the outline and how to plan our ideas and thoughts before starting our writing. First of all, what is an essay? An essay is a group of well-organized paragraphs discussing one main idea. An essay usually has different parts, so I want you to brainstorm your ideas with your partner, which means working in pairs. Brainstorm, discuss, and think ideas. What do you remember about the parts of an essay? In class, we'll be divided into groups where every group will be focusing on one topic. You will be able to use the tablets and search for these parts of the essay, and then you will be presenting your ideas and discussing them with your friends. So we have the introduction, we have what is called in the introduction the hook, the background information, and the thesis statement. And then we have the body, we have topic sentence, supporting details, and concluding sentence in the body paragraph. And then we have the conclusion, and these all form the essay. So what is an introduction? The introduction usually is the first paragraph of the essay, and from its name, it introduces the essay. So in the introduction, I should be able to understand what this essay is going to talk about. An introduction consists of different parts. They are the following. First, we have what's called a hook. A hook is the first sentence of an essay, and as we said, it's the first sentence of the introduction. And the introduction is already the first paragraph of the essay. So the hook, as it is the first sentence of the essay, it should hook, which means attract the reader's attention. Therefore, it should be catchy. It could be a question, a sound effect, figurative language, shocking statement, quote, or visualizing. For example, did you know that for every 30,000 people in Niger, only one doctor is available? So this is a question and it attracts the reader. So when someone is reading my essay starting this question, they will be thinking to themselves what this essay will be about, and then they will be engaged to continue reading. After the hook, which is the first sentence of the introduction, we will be adding background information. And of course, we should have already decided on our topic. So the background information must be on our topic or our main idea. So the background information follow the hook, and the following sentences are general knowledge about the topic and are written to give background information to the reader. So whatever my topic is, I give background general information about that topic for the reader to remember what this topic is about. And at the end of the introduction, which means after the hook and the background information, I should add my thesis statement. What is a thesis statement? It is generally the last sentence of the introduction, and it holds the main idea of the essay. Here is an example on the thesis statement. So let's say the essay was about the effects of early marriage on girls. A good thesis would be the following. Early marriage, which is widely practiced in remote rural areas of developing countries, seems to have several negative physical and psychological effects on young girls. So from this thesis statement, which is coming at the end of the introduction and which is introducing the main idea of the essay, I can understand that this essay is about early marriage and more specifically the negative effects, more specifically the physical and psychological effects on young girls. So you can see by now how the thesis statement is so clear and it tells the reader what this essay will be about. By now you can see that we're done with the introduction. So what comes after the introduction? The body. And in the body we have body paragraphs. So for you, I want you to write 2 to 3 maximum body paragraphs for now. So what are the body paragraphs? They are the paragraphs following the introduction, as we just said, and they are the biggest chunk of the essay, where the main idea is elaborated in details. So we introduced our main idea in the introduction. Now, where am I going to explain and show the reader my details and my ideas? In the body of the essay. And that body should be divided into paragraphs, 2 or 3 paragraphs for the reader to be able to understand them clearly. So I divide the paragraphs based on the topic of each paragraph. For example, if I'm presenting problems and solutions, I can put the problems in one paragraph and the solutions in another paragraph. So as we were saying before, each essay can contain as many paragraphs as necessary, but in our level, our essays are usually made of 2 to 3 body paragraphs. Now the job of the body paragraph or the paragraphs is to give supporting evidence and or details to the thesis statement. Each body paragraph needs the following: a topic sentence, the supporting details, and a concluding sentence. So what is a topic sentence? What are the supporting details and what is the concluding sentence? These are the normal parts, the parts that you usually write in any paragraph. So in previous years, you already learned about how to write a paragraph. So there is nothing new here in writing a body paragraph. It's a usual and normal paragraph that starts with a topic sentence, supporting details, and concluding sentence. So let's look at them in specific. A topic sentence is the main idea of the whole paragraph. For example, it has been proven that early marriage has several physical impacts on young girls. This means that this paragraph, which is the first body paragraph, for example, is going to tackle the impacts or the negative impacts on the young girls because of marriage, and more specifically the physical one. And we mentioned before in the thesis statement that this essay will be talking about 2 impacts, the physical and the psychological. And you can see here in the topic sentence of the first body paragraph, it's introducing and telling me that this body paragraph is going to talk about the physical impacts. By now, I can conclude that in the second body paragraph, it will be handling the psychological impacts. So you can see by now how clear it is. So 2 body paragraphs. Each body paragraph should consist of the topic, sentence, supporting details, and concluding sentence. The topic sentence introduces the paragraph and tells me what this paragraph is going to talk about. So this whole paragraph will discuss the physical impacts of early marriage. The supporting details are the following sentences in the paragraph and will give support to the topic sentence by giving examples, statistics, or expert opinions. For example, as we already said in the topic sentence, that the main idea in this paragraph that will be discussed is the physical impacts of early marriage. So the author or you as a writer in the supporting details will be telling us about these physical impacts, and you can also add examples because these are details, the supporting details that support the idea. And at the end of this paragraph, you will write the concluding sentence. As it says, it's concluding, so it wraps up or it wraps up the paragraph by restating the main idea and leaving the reader with a final thought. So we restate the main idea in different words. For example, we can say, so early marriage has negative effects on young girls, more specifically physical impacts. And in that case, we would have written our first body paragraph that's focusing on the physical impacts. Then you will do the same for the second body paragraph and focusing about the psychological impacts. So we wrote our introduction, our two body paragraphs about the physical and psychological impacts of early marriage on young girls, and now we're going to write our conclusion. So we are concluding and wrapping up our essay. Conclusion is the final paragraph of an essay, and it is typically made of one paragraph. So it's not like the body. The body would be 2, 3 or more paragraphs. However, the introduction and the conclusion are only a one paragraph. And a good conclusion needs to have these three things. First, it needs to restate the thesis statement using different words, which means we need to say again the thesis statement, which is the main idea of the whole essay, however, in different words. We don't just copy and paste the thesis statement. And then it should summarize the text, which means we write a summary, like so shortly, the main ideas that we discussed and focused on in our essay, and then we should share either our feelings, opinion, advice, etc. from the writer, from your own, like your own advice, your own opinion, and thus you leave the reader with a final question or thought. And a good conclusion should be powerful in order to make a good impact on the reader. So this is our conclusion, and please remember, in a conclusion we don't add any new ideas and any new supporting details. No ideas. We just restate the main idea of the whole essay, we summarize what we mentioned before briefly, and then we add either our feelings, opinion, or advice. Now we'll be looking into an essay model, and you will be seeing how we are writing these parts of an essay. And when you will be writing your own essays in the homework, please follow these in detail. Don't just write ideas in any way you want. So first you have here the title of that essay. It's entitled Advantages and Disadvantages of Using a Cell Phone. On this slide you have the introduction. Remember, we said an introduction should start with the hook and then the background information followed by the thesis statement. So let's read it together. Until the 1800s, people used letters for communication. This is the hook. This way was very slow, and people couldn't contact each other in emergency situations. There was also the possibility of letters being lost. After the invention of the telephone in 1876 by Alexander Graham Bell, it became easier for people to communicate. Then, in the 1970s, the cellular phone was invented. All of these that are colored in black are the background information, and they are so clear that they are background information on communicating and moving from communicating using letters to using cell phones. And now we come to the thesis statement, which is colored in green. However, although cell phones brought many benefits into our lives, they also have disadvantages. So you can clearly see that in our thesis statement, we're telling the reader that in this essay we're going to talk about cell phones because it's a new invention after using letters. But that invention of cell phones brought many benefits, which means advantages, and on the other side there are disadvantages. Clearly this essay is going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the cell phone. And please look at the words that are underlined also, after, then, however, these are called transitional words, and we use them to move from one sentence to another, because if we don't use these transitional words, the paragraph would not make sense. So these transitional words connect the sentences together. So please also, when writing your paragraphs, use the suitable transitional words and don't just write ideas after one another. And here comes the first body paragraph. And we said any body paragraph or any paragraph should start with a topic sentence, which is here, it's colored in blue. There are several advantages of using a cell phone, so we can clearly know that this paragraph will be only focusing on the advantages of using a cell phone. And then all the sentences that are following the topic sentence and colored in black, these are the supporting details to our main idea in this paragraph, which is the advantages of using a cell phone. So the most important advantage of cell phones is that they can be used almost everywhere without cables or electricity. This is the first supporting detail that supports my main idea that there are advantages of using a cell phone. And again, you can look at the words that are underlined, the most important advantage, the first one that I introduced. And then I continue. By using a mobile phone, you can communicate with anyone whenever you want and wherever you want. So this is similar to the first supporting detail. It adds to it, it explains it. So this is what we write in the supporting details. Details that explain and support our main idea. Besides this, also underline this is a transition from one sentence to another. Besides this, if there is an emergency situation, mobile phones can be useful. Furthermore, another transition or transitional word, which means I'm adding a third supporting detail. Furthermore, you can get access to the internet by using a cell phone. Cell phones include this system. This way, you can communicate with someone cheaper than by normal calling. So these colored in black are all called the supporting details. And at the end comes the concluding sentence of the paragraph. And we have so, because we're concluding and we're transiting or transitioning from one sentence to another, so we should add so, comma, using a cell phone has many benefits. And as we said, the concluding sentence restates the topic sentence but in other words. So the topic sentence already said that there are advantages, several advantages for using a cell phone, and the concluding sentence is saying that using a cell phone has many benefits. So you can see we changed the sentence structure here. Several advantages of using a cell phone, and here using a cell phone has many benefits. We changed the sentence structure. This is number one. Number two, we use different words. Here we said advantages in the topic sentence. In the concluding sentence we said benefits. So we don't copy and paste, we use different words. And here we said several, here we said many. So this is the way that we write the concluding sentence. Here comes the second body paragraph, and the same things that I said in the first body paragraph applies here. Sentence in blue is the topic sentence, and look at the way we started. In spite of its many advantages, because these are transitional words, and because it's one essay, so I'm transitioning from one paragraph to another, right? So in the first paragraph we talked about the advantages. Now we're going to talk about the disadvantages. So I don't just start writing the disadvantages. I have to connect the paragraphs together. That is why I've said in spite of its many advantages. So knowing that we mentioned advantages in the previous paragraph, there is still a dark side, which means disadvantages or negative effects of cell phones. For example, as you said in the supporting details, we add details, we support, we give evidence, we add examples. So for example, cell phones spread electromagnetic waves. These electromagnetic waves cause serious health problems like cancer. Additionally, cell phones often affect the electronic systems used by equipment like cars, ABS, which means automatic brake system in the car, and computers. These are all negative effects of cell phones, which means disadvantages. This can cause big problems such as accidents. Lastly, using the cell phone extensively lead to multiple conflicts in social communications and interactions. So these are all ideas, supporting ideas to my main idea in this paragraph, which is using a cell phone is not so good. There's not only advantages, but still we have disadvantages, a dark side. And I gave an example. I said additionally, a transitional word, lastly, and then for instance. This is another example. For instance, people are spending less time in real life meetings and they're being more alienated while getting affected by the social environments on social media platforms. So alienated means you're not in social interactions with others, you're like sitting alone, away from the society, where you're not interacted in a way where you're having meetings, face-to-face meetings. And in addition to that, while you are alienated, like in front of these screens, the screen of the cell phone, you're using and communicating with people on social media platforms, and we all know the negative effects on personalities these days because of the social media platforms. So all of these are the disadvantages of cell phones. After adding all my ideas, all my details that support my main point, I am adding the concluding sentence. So I say all in all, which means after all what I have mentioned, cell phones can still have negative effects. And I will say that again. In a concluding sentence, we restate the topic sentence in different words. In the topic sentence, we said there's a dark side, or there are disadvantages of cell phones. In the concluding sentence, I'm saying cell phones still have negative effects. Same idea, different words, different sentence structure. We're not copying and pasting. So by now we wrote our introduction and our two body paragraphs, the advantages and disadvantages of using a cell phone. Here we come to the conclusion. We said a conclusion should restate the main idea of the whole essay, and it should also give an opinion. So let's see how this conclusion is written. In conclusion, the transitional word, of course, in conclusion, because this connects and moves slowly from one paragraph to another in an essay, and it tells me that in this paragraph I'm concluding my essay. So in conclusion to what was discussed before, comma, even though cell phones give us so many benefits, they can also be a serious harmful tool. This is another way of saying that cell phones have advantages and disadvantages. Cell phones can give us many benefits and can have serious harmful, or can be a serious harmful tool. And then I say awareness. So I'm giving an advice here. Awareness must be raised about the dangers of this electronic invention, which is the cell phone. Let us use this intriguing tool for the benefit of humanity and not for its destruction. And this way I concluded my essay. I restated my main idea. I gave an advice. Everything's fine. The reader understood my idea. The reader was left with final thoughts, maybe how we're going to use this cell phone in a way that benefits humanity and not distract it. And by now we finished the essay. I hope everything is clear on how to write an essay. As we said at the very beginning of the lecture and of this presentation, we said that there are several types of essays, and here you have the 5 main types of writing. We have the expository writing. the descriptive writing, the narrative writing, persuasive writing, and the argumentative writing. And you can see in front of you that only the first three of them are highlighted in blue and the other two are highlighted in black, because we will be focusing only on the first three. Now in this lecture, we'll be focusing only on the first type of writing, which is the expository writing. We already took an example of that in the model essay. So what is the aim of the expository writing? The aim of this writing is to, or the writer aims at writing this type to explain something, to illustrate, to give information to the reader, and it can be one of the following. It can be a problem solution essay, it can be comparison contrast essay, it can be a cause effect essay, and it can be an advantages and disadvantages essay, just like the model we have looked at before. So as we said, expository writing, one type of expository writing would be a problem solution essay. So we will be focusing also on problem solution essay. What is a problem solution essay? It is an essay in which you analyze a problem and propose a method for solving it. Actually, the major part of a problem solution essay is explaining what the solution to the problem is and arguing that this solution will be effective and easy to implement and better than other solutions and cost effective. So it's like we're stating our problem and we're arguing that this is the best solution for this problem. Now the question is, if I'm going to write an expository writing, more specifically a problem solution essay, how am I going to organize a problem solution essay? How am I going to organize my ideas? Alright, so first we have the introduction. In the introduction, we write the thesis statement that should mainly be stating that in this essay there is a problem to be presented and a solution to be suggested. So in a problem solution essay, I should be telling the reader in the thesis statement that this essay is going to be stating a problem and suggesting its solutions. And then in the first body paragraph, I can state all the problems, and the second body paragraph, I can state all the solutions, and then in the conclusion, I restate the thesis statement in different words. So just the way we did in the advantages and disadvantages essay in the model you saw, one paragraph was focusing on advantages and one was focusing on disadvantages. Similarly to the problem solution essay, one body paragraph would be focusing on problems and the other would be focusing on solutions. And of course, we should be writing and telling the reader in the thesis statement in the introduction that this is a problem solution essay, which means this is the problem and we will be suggesting solutions to it, and we restate that in the conclusion. Alright, so by now we know what is an essay is, what the part of the essay are. We know how to write these parts of the essay. We know how to write every part of it, the details in every part of it, and we got introduced to the expository writing, in which we give information, we explain our idea, and we also got introduced more specifically into the problem solution essay or advantages and disadvantages essay. So we're going to write an essay. Okay, let's ask ourselves this question: do I just start writing an essay and stating all my information and all my ideas, or should I write something before? And the answer is in front of you. We should form an outline. So what is an outline? Why is it effective to write an outline before starting our writing, and how to write an outline? Please ask yourself these questions and we will be finding out in the next slide. What is an outline? It is a plan which lists and arranges the ideas that you will be presenting in your essay. So it's a brief plan that will tell you, or you will be looking at it as a checklist to tell yourself what you're going to write in that essay, so that you organize your ideas and then you work based on that. So it is an organized form of brainstorming. We said before that brainstorming means thinking of your ideas, whatever comes to your mind, and writing them down. So we write all our ideas down as sentences, as words, as we imagine them as pictures, whatever. But in that way, we will be thinking of ideas. We put them in front of us. We decide what ideas we want to include in our writing, and then we put them as a plan in an outline, and this plan summarizes what we will be writing about. Then we will have our ideas written in front of us and organized in an outline. We know what we're going to write in an introduction, what we're going to write in each body paragraph, and what we're going to write in a conclusion. This way, when I start writing my essay, I look at my outline, I have my ideas, so I write it correctly. So it helps you plan before writing, because I looked at some of your writings, the ones that the students who gave me their writings, I looked at them, and some of you are really facing problems or maybe having difficulty in writing their essays, in which maybe you just start writing your ideas without doing what we just explained in this lecture, without really working on the parts of an essay. So some of you didn't really have the first paragraph as an introduction or the last paragraph as a conclusion, or you just wrote all your ideas in different paragraphs without really organizing them into the first body paragraph and the second body paragraph according to the idea. Or for example, you didn't use transitional words, or you had other difficulties. So that is why it's important to plan and follow clearly what we explained in this lecture. More importantly, in every paragraph, which means in the introduction, the body, and the conclusion, you have to follow the organization of the sentences, which means the hook, the background information, and then the thesis statement in the introduction. In the body paragraph, the topic sentence, supporting details, concluding sentence. And then in the conclusion, similarly, we restate the main idea, we give our opinion, advice, feelings, whatever, and we keep the reader with thoughts. You have to follow all of these in addition to your ideas on the topic. How to do that? You use an outline to organize your information, and then it's as a checklist for you to check your essay at the end of your writing. Other than that, don't just put a piece of paper and start writing your ideas. In that case, you will always be having a difficulty and you'll be facing problems and your writing will not be correct. So the question now is how to write an outline. As I already mentioned, outline, it organizes our ideas that we're going to write in an essay. So it outlines the introduction. Mainly we write the thesis statement. For example, in our case, problem solution essay, so the thesis statement, we state the thesis statement that this essay will be presenting, we put the problem and it's going to suggest solutions to that problem. And then in the body, we have the first paragraph, we write the main idea of that paragraph, which is the advantages, we write it. And then we write supporting details. We don't write all the sentences, remember? We don't write all the sentences in the outline. We just write short sentences briefly to remind us of what we're going to write. And we elaborate in the writing. In the outline, just short sentences for us to organize our ideas and remember them. And then the concluding sentence, if we finish paragraph number 1, we go to paragraph number 2, a new idea. For example, we already stated in the first paragraph the problem. The second paragraph, the main idea is the solutions. We put the supporting detail number 1, supporting detail number 2 briefly, the idea, and the concluding sentence briefly. Of course, we elaborate them, as we said in the model, we elaborate the details more in the essay. And at the end, the conclusion, it restates the statement in different words. So now it's time to discuss. As a homework that's due on Monday, October 18th, you have a writing. However, before starting with the writing, you will do the following. You will be brainstorming the ideas, writing your outline, and then starting the writing based on everything we discussed in this lecture. Now in class, students will be working in groups and they will be discussing the topic. You will see that in the next slide. And then they will be presenting these ideas that they will be writing in their essays. They will be presenting these ideas in front of their friends and they will be discussing them. And let's see in the next slide. So working in groups for discussing for 5 minutes and debating and presenting for other 5 minutes. The groups have to think of 2 problems that can result from their theme, which is, for example, poverty or recreation, and provide the respective solutions for them and present a debate with other groups and tell them their ideas. And that would be based on the lecture number 4, week number 5, chapter 1. For example, if you go look back at the lesson that we took in chapter number 1, for example, if it was poverty or recreation, you go there, you can look at ideas, get inspired by ideas for you to think of problems and solutions in order to be able to write a writing that's related to our theme. By now, our lecture comes to an end. Thank you for listening and watching this video. I hope everything was clear. If you have any question, please send me an email. And this is Ms. Maha Mohsen at the International School of Innovation. Have a nice day.